The night she asked him to stay, the rain had already washed half the city clean. The streets of Portland, Oregon shimmered under streetlights, and Michael Harper stood on the front porch of a house that did not feel like his own, holding a thin overnight bag and the weight of 1,000 unspoken fears. He had faced hospital waiting rooms, overdue bills, and the quiet ache of raising a son alone, but this felt different. This felt like standing at the edge of a life he was afraid to step into. When Rachel Bennett leaned closer and whispered for him to stay tonight, something inside him trembled, not with desire, but with the terrifying possibility of hope. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet strength of single parents who keep going no matter what, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment about what second chances mean to you, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this matter because people like Michael exist in the real world. Michael had not planned on being a single father at 32. Life had unraveled quickly after his wife passed away from a sudden illness, leaving him alone with 4-year-old Noah and a silence that echoed through every room of their small apartment. He worked long shifts as a mechanic in a repair shop near the Willamette River, coming home each evening to cook simple dinners, check preschool worksheets, and fall asleep on the couch with exhaustion pressed into his bones. He loved his son with a fierce devotion, but grief made even love feel heavy some days. Rachel entered his life quietly, like sunlight slipping through blinds. She was Noah's kindergarten teacher, gentle, patient, with chestnut hair always pulled into a low ponytail and a laugh that sounded like wind chimes in spring. At first, their conversations were brief and polite, updates about reading progress and finger painting projects. But Rachel noticed the dark circles under Michael's eyes and the way he lingered at pickup time, as if stretching out the few minutes of adult conversation he got in a day. She began asking how he was doing, not just how Noah was doing. And slowly, Michael began answering honestly. It started with small things. She offered extra worksheets when Noah struggled with letters. She recommended community events for single parents. One afternoon, when Michael arrived late because of a flat tire, Rachel stayed with Noah long after school hours, reading him stories in a classroom that smelled faintly of crayons and glue. Michael had stood in the doorway that day, watching the two of them laugh together, and felt something inside him soften. Months passed. Rachel became a regular presence in their lives, joining them for trips to the Oregon Zoo, bringing homemade soup when Michael caught the flu, and cheering louder than anyone at Noah's kindergarten recital. She never tried to replace anyone. She simply showed up, and for a man who had learned to carry everything alone, that meant more than grand gestures ever could. But Michael built walls around his heart, brick by brick. He told himself he was protecting Noah from confusion, protecting Rachel from disappointment, protecting himself from losing someone again. When Rachel invited him over for dinner one rainy Friday night after a long parent-teacher conference, he almost said no. Yet the thought of going back to an empty apartment felt heavier than usual. So he agreed. Her house was warm and filled with soft yellow light. The scent of baked pasta drifted from the kitchen, and soft music played in the background. Noah had fallen asleep earlier at Rachel's sister's place for a planned sleepover, leaving the house unusually quiet. They ate slowly, talking about childhood memories and dreams they had once shelved away. Michael admitted he had once wanted to open his own auto shop. Rachel confessed she had nearly moved to Chicago years ago, but stayed in Portland to care for her mother during an illness. The vulnerability between them grew thick and undeniable. When the rain intensified outside, drumming against the windows, Rachel suggested he stay the night rather than drive across town in the storm. She told him he could take the sofa, that it was comfortable and she had extra blankets. But as she stood there, close enough for him to see the faint freckles on her cheeks, her voice carried something deeper than practicality. It carried longing. Michael's heart pounded. He knew what staying could mean. Not something reckless or shameful, but something serious. A step forward, a declaration that he was ready to let someone share his burdens and his joys. Yet fear rose quickly. He had spent years surviving. Thriving felt dangerous. He looked at the sofa, then at the hallway leading to her bedroom, then back at Rachel's steady eyes. And in that quiet moment, he made a choice that surprised even himself. He refused the sofa, not out of pride, but out of respect. He told her he cared about her too much to blur lines on a night filled with emotion. He said that if he stayed, it would be because he was ready to build something lasting, not because of rain or loneliness. Rachel did not look disappointed. Instead, tears shimmered in her eyes, not from sadness, but from relief. For the first time in years, someone had chosen patience over impulse, commitment over convenience. She stepped closer and rested her forehead briefly against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of a man who had learned to endure storms. That night, Michael did stay, but on the sofa, wrapped in a thick quilt that smelled faintly of lavender. And for the first time since his wife's passing, he slept without nightmares. The house felt peaceful, safe. In the morning, sunlight filtered through the curtains, and Rachel was already in the kitchen making coffee. They shared a quiet breakfast that felt less like the start of something fragile, and more like the continuation of something real. From that day forward, everything shifted. Michael began allowing himself to imagine a future that included more than survival. He worked extra hours not out of desperation, but to save for the possibility of opening that auto shop. Rachel continued to support Noah's growth, celebrating every small milestone as if it were her own child's achievement. They took things slowly, movie nights, park walks, long conversations after Noah had gone to bed. Trust grew like roots beneath the surface, unseen but strong. There were challenges. Noah struggled at first with the idea of someone new in his life. Michael wrestled with guilt, wondering if moving forward meant leaving the past behind. Rachel had moments of doubt too, questioning whether she could truly step into a family shaped by loss. But each obstacle was met with honesty instead of avoidance. Each fear was spoken aloud rather than buried. One crisp autumn afternoon, nearly a year after that rainy night, Michael stood outside a small storefront with a freshly painted sign that read Harper Auto Repair. Rachel and Noah stood beside him as he unlocked the door for the first time. The dream he had once whispered only to himself had become reality, fueled not just by hard work, but by love that encouraged him to believe he deserved more. That evening, back at Rachel's house, Michael watched Noah help set the table while Rachel stirred a pot of chili on the stove. The scene felt ordinary yet extraordinary. He realized that the shift had not happened because of a single whisper on a rainy night. It had happened because he chose integrity when it mattered most. He chose to honor both his past and his future. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs a reminder that love built on respect is powerful, and subscribe for more stories that celebrate resilience and faith in new beginnings. Your support helps these messages reach the people who need them most. And before this story ends, I have a special request for you. Comment below with one word that represents what second chances mean to you. Hope, courage, faith, or something else entirely. Your words might encourage someone silently struggling. Months later, on another rainy evening in Portland, Michael stood once again on Rachel's porch. But this time, he was not carrying fear. He was holding a small velvet box in his jacket pocket and a steady confidence in his heart. He no longer felt like a man clinging to survival. He felt like a father, a partner, and a dreamer who had learned that refusing the easy path can sometimes open the door to something extraordinary. When Rachel opened the door, the same warmth greeted him, the same light, the same quiet promise. And as rain began to fall again, Michael understood that storms were no longer symbols of loss. They were reminders of the night everything shifted when he chose patience, and love answered with something lasting. In the end, it was not the whisper that changed his life. It was the decision to treat love with care. And because of that choice, a single dad who once feared hope found himself standing in a home filled not with echoes of grief, but with the steady rhythm of a future built together.